All right, PPL Live. We're here for a few good minutes. We have a very special guest, a very decorated guest. We have the GAFF Attack here with us today, coming in for the interview. How you doing, man?
Pretty good. Happy to be here.
No, great. It's great to have you. Great to have you, man. So, obviously, this season hasn't gotten off to the start that you wanted. It has been a slow start with a few low scores. What do you think is contributing to that?
The biggest thing is I've stayed loyal to my guys, and I've got this plan, and then the injuries I think have just been the things that I can't really count on. And
Definitely.
I can look at all the metrics and I can check on all the rankings, and it doesn't matter when they don't finish the game. It doesn't help.
No, exactly. I mean, Big Ben's injury was a big blow for Juju Smith-Schuster. The Andrew Luck retirement, kind of hit out of the blue. Marlon Mack was affected by that. And then obviously the big injury to Nick Foles really hurt Leonard Fournette, although he ran for 220 yards, I believe, this past week for you. But let's talk about, the elephant in the room on your franchise is your franchise player, two-time league MVP in the PPL, Todd Gurley. Not the kind of start you expected. He's not getting the volume you expected, and obviously he has the arthritic knee issue. Talk to us about Todd and his usage, and are his best days behind him?
I really do think McVay is just saving him for the end of the season, no matter what he says. It's hard to be a championship caliber team and then lose one of your star players right before the playoffs. So
right.
I think he's just got him on account, and the end of the season he's going to blow up. I'm not worried about him. It's just hard to sit him because I don't want him blowing up,
right.
Especially when nobody on my bench is doing anything anyway.
So
no,
definitely.
I'm just kind of stuck playing my guys,
No, for sure. Because he even this past week he only had 12 touches, but I think 2 or 3 of those went for touchdowns. So, it's a really, really tough situation Todd is in. Would you ever consider trading him based on the situation he's in, or is he a GAFF guy for life?
You know me. I'm loyal to my guys, and it's kind of hard to get rid of them. And even people that have been passed on my team, and I look at other guys' squad, I'm like, man, I don't like that.
Right? No,
so,
definitely.
For me, it's kind of hard, especially with him. Drafting him. And just having him on my team this whole time, I don't think that's happening.
Right, you stuck with him through a lot, through his injuries, through poor play, through it all. So you're obviously gonna stick it out with your main guy. But you guys are 1-3 right now. Like I said earlier, you guys are struggling to score. This is a very proud franchise. 2-time Pantheon Cup champions, 3 or 4-time Omega Conference champs. So you guys have pretty much done it all in the PPL. What makes you optimistic about this, Gaff? Are you optimistic that you guys can bounce back this season? Is 2019 a salvageable year for the GAFF Attack?
It has to be. I've come back from worse starts, in the years past, and I think it's just one of those things. Like I said earlier, I got this formula, and I really think I got this season figured out. And it's hard that when the beginning of the season doesn't work out the way you thought. But you still got to stick to your plan. You can't just give up and start moving around and doing things when you kind of overanalyzed it and overthought about it. Those last minute decisions end up killing me every time.
No, and it's prevalent throughout the league. Trust me, you're not the only one. Let's talk about another team in the league, your arch rival in the PPL. You guys have been rivals since the very beginning. 4 Pantheon Cups between you. You two were the first 2 Pantheon Cup champions. You guys are going to square off this week in the prestige matchup of the week, Patty's Twins. What are your thoughts on this must-win matchup with the Twins in a season-defining matchup? How do you think you guys are going to do this weekend?
Well, that's really the hard part is, she's tied for first in the division, and if I lose this one, I'm far back.
Right.
And I got to get this one. For my pride, just for every reason, it's just got to happen. But I keep looking at the matchup, and I keep looking at it, and I keep seeing myself not coming up. But it really comes down to my coach. Like, if I can't find a coach that's going to be consistent,
right,
or at least give me some points, I'm done.
Right.
And it looks like Patty's in a similar situation. She might not play a coach, so that might be an option. But I think it really comes down to me and being able to pick a coach, because that's been my nemesis for years now. Right,
and like I said, that's another prevalent issue throughout the league. But it looks like you got the Chargers coach. You're sticking with them, so you guys are projected, I believe, to win this matchup. You've had some pretty nice projections, so there's still belief in your team, man. So good luck going into week 5. And thanks for 5 good minutes.
Hey, and thanks for everything, man. You're an awesome commish.
All right, man. Thank you.
Bye.
And that was 5 good minutes with the defending Omega Conference champions, the GAFF Attack. Segueing us into the prestige matchup of the week, we've got Patty's Twins taking on the GAFF Attack. All right, man. The GAFF, he kind of gave us his perspective on everything. I think that he's, maybe in a lot of trouble, but he's still got a pulse. What do you think there, Ulysses?
I mean, I think he had an accurate read on the situation. I mean, I think that this team's been really affected by injuries, not necessarily his, but collateral damage all up and down the roster. I like, ultimately, the Jameis pickup. I don't think it's going to do pay dirt this week. I thought Dak struggling last week against New Orleans.
Yeah.
Jameis is no Dak. Close, but I don't think he's got the surrounding cast.
Right.
The running game, we'll see. I mean, maybe Ronald has a better day than Zeke, but I'm not sure. I think that the Chargers coach is safe. I love his insight. I know coaches are where he struggles.
Mm-hmm.
I know he has choice paralysis on this shit weekly, but I think that the Chargers are the way to go. Real sad though with the Twins going with the Niners coach. I think that's a lock on Monday night.
Okay.
May not even have to go there, but Twins are blowing up. This is the best team in the PPL. They established that last week. I think, honestly, they just are real. I mean, they're stacked everywhere. There's not a weak spot on this team right now. I think that the Saints could actually shut down Tampa Bay. So I think that actually, in a game that they need to win, they don't. And Patty's Twins goes here. I think that they go comfortably. I'll say 125, 110.
All right. I'm gonna have to agree with you, man. I really did like the Jameis Winston pickup also. He's a guy that's he's thrown for 380 the last 2 weeks, had 4 touchdowns against the Rams defense. They are familiar with New Orleans, so Jameis may not struggle as much as Dak did, but I see where you're going with that. I'm really still concerned about Todd Gurley's legs, and they're playing Seattle on the road on a short week. I just don't know how that's going to look. But my boy Leonard Fournette ran for 200 yards. He's starting to be that big boy that came out of LSU, and I'm just loving it. Going down the rest of the roster, I kind of agree with you. Patty's Twins just looks too imposing. Aaron Rodgers finally looked like Aaron Rodgers last Thursday night, despite the loss to Philly. He still threw for, I think, almost 400 yards and 3 or 4 TDs. Austin Eckler has pretty much made that a timeshare now in LA. Eckler's not going away, and I think the Twins are going to continue to reap the benefits, maybe not to the extent that they did before, but they will continue to reap benefits off of that. And they also got Keenan Allen, Robert Woods to match Gurley tomorrow night, and Will Dissly. I mean, Will Dissly goes to Bible study with Russell Wilson, man. That should tell you everything you need to know about that connection. That was a great tight end pickup. Just going down the line, like you said, hey, Niners D may not even be necessary. I've got Patty's Twins winning this one as well. 124 to 118. I think the GAFF makes it interesting. Maybe late, but that Niners coach probably will put the Twins over the top. Moving on to our next matchup in the PPL, we have the United Players, the Destroyers, taking on the Argonauts. All right, man. The Argonauts typically occupy the number 1 scoring team in the league, but they're now in the bottom half of the league in scoring. And the United Players, I mean, they can't be slowed down. I know the Twins are the PPL's finest and they're the best team, but the UP right now is the league's most dangerous team. What do you think of this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the UP has really shown some staying power when it comes to scoring. I mean, by this point in the season, you get a pretty good sense of what a team's all about. And this team could beat anybody any week. It's all about lineup calls, and he's been making the right ones so far. I think that he's got an edge here. I look at the Argonauts, and I'm not sold on all this cowboy love, especially last week. I think that was a game that they really could have proved themselves to be in that upper echelon of teams, and I think they just, clearly faltered.
Right.
I think Nick Chubb struggles against San Francisco.
Well, and they left that 40 points on the bench last week.
I mean, Exactly. So I think that there's some residual going on here. I'm not sure about the Ravens. Losing to Cleveland, I'm not sure that they can beat Pittsburgh.
Okay.
In Pittsburgh. We'll see. We'll see. Tom Brady, James White, they should go. Chris Godwin, man. I mean, if Jameis does get right, it's going to be through Chris Godwin.
Right.
And so that could spell trouble. Cooper Kupp is just, I mean, consummate. This guy's everywhere.
Right.
And I honestly think the highest scoring team does what they do. And the Argo, this team, I mean, they've had some cupcakes this season.
Okay.
They're getting scored on the least, and I think that changes this week. I've got the UP winning this one in fashion, 133 to 127.
Okay. I'm going to have to go the other way on this one. While I do agree with you, the Argonauts have been super sloppy already this season. They've been scored against the least, so they've had the least resistance to get to where they are right now. The Nick Chubb situation, I mean, how do you put 40 points on the bench and still win? I mean, they've done this before. I mean, a few years back, Jamal Charles went off for 40 on their bench, and they still were able to beat Patty's twins in a matchup. So, I mean, I don't know what it is, but they seem to get by even when, you know, big-time players are, you know, out of the lineup. I'm looking at the Ravens coach and the Ravens D last week. Terrible picks. This is the best team in the PPL throughout the league's history, and they're just not looking like it anymore. They're looking like a little old and slow at certain spots. Zeke fumbling, the Dak Prescott trade and the Delaney Walker trade yielded them about 7.9 points exactly last week. When you see Jared Goff throw for 500, it just screams something else. However, they're 3-1. They're atop the Alpha Conference. They're 2 points away from being 4-0 and having the best record in the league, despite everything I just said. So they always find a way to get things done. Now, they do need to avenge this defeat. The United Players actually beat them last year. So the Argonauts got this matchup circled. I think that the Cleveland Browns have figured out that they need to run Nick Chubb. I think he's going to have a big game. And obviously, I think that Prescott and Elliott are going to get in a shootout with the Packers. I like the Argonauts a little bit better. The United Players, while they can score a lot, it's really unpredictable where it's going to come from. The Argonauts guys are pretty much a rogues gallery of the PPL's best. I got the Argonauts. I say the Argonauts finally wake up and have a big week scoring. I say the Argonauts win this one 134 to 128. Moving on to our next matchup, we have Only for the Boss taking on the Mean Machine. All right, man. Hey, Mean Machine's no joke. That Bears D is no joke. Only for the Boss did get off the schneid last week, beating Squad. What do you think about this one? This one's pretty intriguing.
Depends on how you define intriguing.
Okay.
Anytime you get a win, congrats, Only for the Boss.
Right.
Wayne Gallman. Who thought that was going to happen?
I did last week.
Yeah, hey, you called it. My thing with this is what's Ronald Jones doing on the bench?
Right.
I think that he needs to be in the lineup. That's going to let me know what Only for the Boss does. Boss makes that move. For either Tarek Cohen or for Shepard. I think that he's a better scoring potential for either of them.
Okay.
But you're right. The Bears D. Intangibles.
Right.
I think that the Baby Gas team has a real favorable matchup, though. That Sunday night game against Indianapolis, I think is appealing.
Mm-hmm.
I think Alvin Kamara. Again, this guy's balling out there, but Odell's getting beat up on the field.
You getting choked out on the field. Forget beat up.
I'm not impressed.
The battered wives club, man.
Yeah, it's real sad.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that I'd probably go Daniel Jones, to be honest, at quarterback over Carson Wentz in the Jets.
Okay.
I don't know. I just think that Daniel Jones has options, and Minnesota just showed a lot of vulnerability. Hell, he should know more than most.
Right.
I think that this is a close game, though. I think that ultimately, with the current lineups as they are, I think the Machine has this one, but it'll be close. I'm going to give it to him 115, 112.
Man, this is becoming a weekly thing. I got the Machine again. There's one thing that is the saving grace for Only for the Boss. Tyreek Hill returned to practice today. If he gets Tyreek back into the lineup, it can be fireworks Sunday night for the boss. So as long as that contingency is still in place, the boss has a shot. But I'm with you, man. The Mean Machine just looks too strong. I actually like the Carson Wentz play. I think Wentz is getting a raw deal from the media and everybody else. He's playing well. Other guys aren't available, and they aren't catching the football at certain points in time. Wentz is delivering. So I love Carson Wentz. Alvin Kamara, you see Tampa Bay gave up 40+ to the Rams. I think that the Saints are going to put up some points, even without Drew once again. And I think Kamara and our boy Michael Thomas are going to be a big part of that. Odell has played well against the 49ers in his career, and I think that game's going to be high scoring. I just like the machine. Amari Cooper against Green. I like the machine, man. I'm going machine here. 127 to 109. I don't even know if it's that close unless the boss gets some added firepower later in the week. Moving on to our next matchup in the PPL, we have the Skulls taking on Appease the Gods. All right, man. I know you got sources all over this one. ATG is in free fall. The Skulls suffered their first defeat. Who gets right first this week?
Well, I mean, tough road for the Skulls. I mean, first time really being in a strong position in the league,
right?
Going against one of the league's best, arguably the best team, and got served up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unfortunate, but I think that right now the position quarterback is really what's holding them back. They made the trade for GAFF. I don't understand why he's not in the lineup.
Okay.
Deshaun's been struggling the last few weeks. I mean, and I know that it's hard because he has that potential to put up real big numbers.
Consistently ranked in the top 3 every week at QB. I mean, it's hard to bench a guy like that.
Right. I mean, flip side, I mean, Skulls have one thing going for them. Everybody's been having a good week against Appease the Gods.
Right. The ATG's been everyone's homecoming so far.
Well, yeah, and it's just been inconsistency, and I mean, I think you see that with the lineup. They put in Shady's in a starting position at running back.
Right.
They're giving Sanu a crack.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're just really trying to figure out who are guys. I mean, that really need to be on the team long term.
Definitely.
And who needs to go. And I think that they're gonna start shopping some pieces, see what they can do. When I look at this, though, I mean, there's just so much that could swing in either team's favor. But really, I think that when you look at the coach, I think both coaches, I mean, are coming off games where they got exposed. I mean, so I'm not sure if going to Seattle's the solution, and the Vikings, I mean, again, going to face another team with a young quarterback, I'm not sure.
Right.
So I look at this and I think this is really anybody's game. So I'm going to say that the Skulls, though, keep it going, and show that they deserve to be taken seriously for playoff contention. I'm going to say that they get this one 120 to 118.
Okay. I'm going the other way on this one. The Skulls, although they've looked pretty good so far this year, I see room for improvement at the wide receiver spot. Boyd was really a big disappointment on Monday Night Football. I mean, where was he? I do like the Emmanuel Sanders play because him and Flacco are showing a pretty good rapport. And I love Evan Ingram. I thought that was one of the best keepers, low-key keepers. I mean, he's the number 1 tight end in the league right now. And I mean, aside, he's gone for, 20 plus in 2 of the 4 weeks. So that potential is always quite dangerous. But when I look at ATG, I'm looking at my boy Lamar Jackson. Bad week against Cleveland. I think that they came into that game feeling themselves a little bit, thinking it was going to be easy against the Browns. And Lamar didn't play well in the first half. I think that they go to Pittsburgh, and he's going to come out of the gate firing. I like Lamar against the Steelers. Chris Carson tomorrow, running against that Rams defense that just, 4 days ago, these guys gave up 55 points. I like all Seattle Seahawks players this week. Shady McCoy on Sunday night. Mike Evans against that exploitable D. I just like ATG's matchups a little bit better. Mohamed Sanu, we'll see about that. I mean, they got some other options with Julian Edelman and Allen Robinson. And then David Montgomery may even need to get into the lineup just based on the fact that the Raiders' run defense isn't all that. So I like ATG's matchups. They may need to tweak a few things, but I think ATG gets by here, gets by the Skulls. 117 to 109. And moving on to our final matchup of the week, we go into the Alpha Conference. We go with Squad Underestimated against the Baby Gas team. All right, man. Squad was pretty upset with the production here at PPL Live being picked against only for the Boss, a 0-3 team. They felt disrespected. What do you think about this matchup, though?
I mean, both teams really put out disappointing performances last week.
Right. We didn't even mention the BGT. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, BGT put out a historic low. I mean, for having a lineup set. I mean, we've seen guys forget on bye weeks and do better than that.
Right.
So that's disappointing. Both sided, they're playing the team in free fall. I don't know what Squad's talking about as far as being disrespected. I mean, it's real easy to shut down the haters. You just have to win.
Right.
And so I mean, I'm not so sure. Again, I don't think Jacoby Brissett's the guy.
Had a great week last week.
I mean, but this guy's decisions are questionable.
Okay.
I mean, we saw what happened in Minnesota. I wouldn't be starting Adam Thielen.
Okay.
The Titans D. I mean, I don't know what you're doing starting anybody that plays for the Tennessee Titans not named Derrick Henry. I think the Patriots are a lock-in coach, but I look across the way here, and BGT. I mean, drafted Matt Ryan hella early. I don't know if they knew that Cam was gonna just fall apart, but I mean, I think Matt Ryan has a field day against. I think Mark Ingram and Dalvin Cook get right this week.
Right, both of them were slowed down.
I mean, yeah, but exactly. I think that they go off, and Melvin Gordon's back in the game. So, I mean, even without the coach, but I mean, you look, they got the Bears coach. I think that they end up starting the Bears coach.
Okay.
But honestly, I don't see a way for Squad to get this one. I think that they need to make some moves, and I mean, they're really feeling the Saquon injury.
Right.
Because behind McCaffrey, they're not very deep at that position. I think the Baby Gas team wins this one behind big weeks from all three of the running backs, 127 to 111.
Okay, I'm going to give Squad a little relief here. I got Squad underestimated in this matchup for a couple of reasons. I think Christian McCaffrey, since Cam's injury, he's been used ridiculously, and I think that that's going to continue against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think there's going to be a lot of running in that football game. I'm on the other side with Jacoby Brissett. He could be a guy that could settle into the position for Squad underestimated. He's in the top 10 in scoring at the position. He's coming off of back-to-back 20-plus point games. So there's things about Jacoby that I won't poo-poo too hard. I think that that's not a bad. He's better than Jimmy G right now. I'm feeling you with the Saquon Barkley thing, but hey, man, they talking about this dude's gonna be back in a week. This was a 6 to 8 week injury, and this guy's gonna be back in 2 to 3 weeks. I mean, Squad's got Wolverine on his team, so that's a big thing. I love Hollywood Brown. I love Mark Andrews against Pittsburgh. I think the Ravens are going to get right. And I think Adam Thielen, after calling out Kirk Cousins, is going to get like 10 targets. With that alone, I'm loving Squad. On BGT side, I do love his running backs, but I don't like his receivers. T.Y. Hilton sloppily was left in the lineup after being deactivated before the game. So there were some issues with the BGT's approach that they got to still work on. Even if they get Chicago's coach into the lineup, I think Squad Underestimated still gets this one. I think they have another big week. I got Squad Underestimated bouncing back 130 to 110. All right, PPLers. Thanks for another great show. GENO the Gent and Ulysses S. Hate signing off.